Well, hello, hello, hello. I am back. This is going to be hopefully a short one. I just wanted to share with you guys what is left of the kit. I've gone on a marathon card making spree, and I'll show you all the cards I made. So I made the initial 10 that you guys have already seen in the videos. And then it became I still had some gas left. Let me pull up and see what I see on Pinterest, what other people have made, what I like. And let's see how, let me crank out a few more cards. And by the time this has been now a 3-day marathon, kind of, sort of, except for yesterday because I was away, I was not home, so I couldn't work on them. But I have ultimately ended up with 44 cards, and this is what I have left. I could not figure out what to do with the bathtub. And you'll see the cards where I used all the other living room things. Had I done it as a slimline, I could have then probably been able to squeeze a TV in, but I couldn't figure out how to use a TV. The little basket guys, the trailer ended up being extra. These are just extra pieces. I'm going to save them, and of all of the 2 pages, the 2 sheets, the chipboards, that is what I have left. Of all the gold words, yeah, that's all I have left are just the middles. I'm going to use that circle, so I'll probably transfer the gold circle over here. Plus, these are just, as I was using my tape foam, my foamies, these are like little offcuts that I had to cut to trim when I cut that were left over. So I've been sticking them there and pulling them off. I started with an almost new roll, and that's what I have left. So I used quite a bit of foam on this project. This is what I have left of the little flag guys. I didn't use as many, and it doesn't mean that I'm not. It's just that I will personalize the cards more as I finish them. You saw in the videos where I did cut out all the words. These are all the words. This is what is left that I did not use yet. So they'll probably be carried over to Thanksgiving or whenever, but they're there. I have now these words to use. Of the 6x6s, what I still have left are, I have one more background of these because I want to do another one just like it of the phone card because I just love it so much. I did not use either one of these sheets, and it might become a background for a phone card too. I just couldn't, to me, I couldn't make this whimsical work with this elegant. So it may be saved for future projects. This too is going to be saved for a phone card just because I love it. I love seeing it as a wallpaper. And then I ended up not using one of these sheets. This one, both of the pink ones ended up not being used, interestingly enough. And that one, I ended up actually using one, and it wasn't my favorite. Yet this one and the, oh my gosh, that Harvest Gold. That's it was like the 70s was calling and they want it back. I ended up using both of those sheets ultimately, and one was tough, and I'll show you guys. This is my scrap pile, and I am still saving them to have a chance that I use them, and if not, eventually it probably will. All of this is probably going to go back into this envelope, and I'll just tape it shut and set it aside, and we'll see. Of all the cardstock, I ended up with this. I still ended up with quite a bit of gold because I didn't use a lot of it. I was miserly with it, you know how I roll. But I made good use of it, if you remember in the videos, by, die cutting the empty space. And almost all of the words that are cut in gold I use. There's only like 3 or 4 of them in here. I have the black. I have the both of the off-whites. Although I'm not even sure. I think this is my off-white. So let me take it back. I think that's my my regular. So the off-white and the blue I didn't use at all. But that can be used in future projects with other collections. So hey, this is not going to waste. So now if you give me a moment, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to clear this, and then we'll go through the cards real quick of what I ended up making, just so you guys see. Alrighty, I'm back. Let's go through all of these cards. I'll do a quick recap of what you guys saw in the videos and have a chance that you have not seen them. The first 10 are not in order, I believe, but I know this one for sure was the first one that I did, totally using up the whole, almost one of the sheets of this paper. I really like the off pink of this one, but you guys will see it. This is in video 1, 2, and it was the first of the 2 cards, but the rest I'm not sure anymore. They got out of order. But this is one of the cards. I made a second one because I liked it so much, but the sentiment is different and I can't remember. I know I did put the sequins in as well, but I did, but other than that, it's pretty much recreated. Again, because I liked it just really so much. It just really, of course it's blue, it's my favorite color, so there you go. And then we have this one you saw that I used with one of the frames. They didn't give me enough frames. I wanted more frames. I should have bought more frames because I would have done more duplicate cards. You'll see in a couple of these cards I made duplicates of them because I liked them and because I had the material. So This one I used, both the bikes got used. The other one was in a different one. It made it. I was surprised how far it made it. It made it down to the bitter end, because it's kind of like, okay, I'll figure it out and I'll figure it out. And I did ultimately figure it out. This is, again, this is towards the end too. This is like 7 or 8, something like that. I really, really liked it with the little, of course it gets turned, but if you feather it out, then it just, it does its own little thing. But I'm really pleased with, ultimately what I did with all of these. What I'm really pleased is this is the first time I get to actually toss the box that the card kit came in. It's like the first time, okay guys, I've been doing this kit for almost a year now. Then this, you guys saw this one, this is where I dot cut the roses from a diamond press, and then I just made like a faux embossing, so it looks like faux embossing. And you can tell because if it's put back in the envelope, the butterflies have smashed down a little bit, but not totally. So in the grand scheme of things, I made it till the last card. I want you guys to know, before I used up the second to the last card, before I used up the last gold heart, and I was holding out and see, I would know. I went back and I ended up adding embellishments to the cards because I ended up having embellishments left over. So I went back and was able to backfill some of them. This is a, you saw this is a thank you card I made with the little houses, our row houses. I really like this. I mean, it's not all that in a slice of bread, but still really cute. And I ended up keeping, because I really like this paper, I ended up saving it to the bitter end, and I'm going to do a phone. I'm going to do another one of the phone cards with it. So, and here again, I'm using one of the other frames, and with the little birthday cake and the heart, and more of these gold hearts. They gave us a ton of them, and I ended up being able to not feel like I had to ration any of them. So I'm really pleased that they gave me quite a bit of the gold hearts, because I used a lot of them. Here's my my blessed Thanksgiving. Just, if I'd have done it differently, I might have used maybe an off-white background, but still it works. And again, I got my little loopy using a slimline die. So I forget which video that is, but just the way of you thinking, when you don't think you have something, you need to look at your stuff differently. And that's what I did. I go, okay, I've got to have something that'll give me that kind of a scallop. So I did find it. And of course, last but not least is the card that I left for last, but the phone home. And I'm going to do another one. I saved a piece of this, so I have the background. What I do not have is this yellow anymore. But you'll see in another card where I ran out of the yellow. I ended up having to pull out a couple of embossing folders I had. I tried to really, my goal was to make this kit work by itself, because that is the purpose that they make it, is so that you can make a bunch of cards without having to pull any other. They give you everything. I'm going to tell you what, I made that roll of tape that they give you go all the way into 20. It made definitely more than 10, so I don't think it made 20. So it made somewhere about 14 or 15 before I finally used up the tape, and maybe it was less than that. But it for sure made 10 cards, which is what they give you the supply, the card backings for, just so you know. But I made that tape go a good long time, and I ended up just at the very, very end was using them embossing folders when I had no longer pattern paper and I had to go and figure out from left field. Now we're going to go, this is the other pile. This is the rest of the cards. One blank left over. I did not use. But these are the other cards that I made. So let's go from the oldest to the newest. This is a lot. I'm going to tell you guys, I drew a lot of inspiration from Pinterest and what I found that other people had done, because I was more for doing something fast and not having to tell you, hey, I made this. We all do it. Scrap lifting is a thing. Don't feel bad. This is my take. I don't think I did it identically. I think I took 2 cards and combined them to do it my way. But there it is. I really am happy. I mean, I used a combination of some of the foamy with the heart. These are the cards that I used the least, these sentiments, but I really liked how this one turned out. I really am. And this was out of Pinterest, I believe. Another one, I'm not going to say this is almost a direct, I did it a little differently, but not hugely. Again, on somebody else, one from Pinterest. I'm like, okay, I just wanted to do it. I just did not want to be sitting there, because I'm a slow designer. You have to understand that. So I did a whole crap ton of scrap lifting to get through it. I love this one. I changed it up a little tiny bit. I added these guys. But when I saw this, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do that one with the other leftovers from, wait a minute, but where's the original? Because I used this. I did one card with this. Where's my little family card? Where did it go? It disappeared. Because there should be, because I did one. in my original video. Okay, anyway, so this is the other card I did that I saw, again, scrap lifted. So I confess, but there you go. These, and again, if you like it enough and you have the materials, then do too. And that's what I did. And I ended up this guy. Now I'm going to go back and look. You saw the little hearts I had left over. I forgot. And I didn't do the gold hearts on these guys because I wanted, this is where I started to somewhat ration the hearts. So I need to go back in. And you could tell they're not really perfectly lined up, not perfectly straight, because that's how I roll, really. What I did learn was a technique that I realized when I was looking at the sample. And this paper, you'll note it is mounted up. I cut a piece of a cardstock. And then I mounted it there so it made it easier so I wouldn't have to keep it straight on the card back. Usually we would mount this tape or this paper straight on the card. But by giving myself borders, I made it easier. And even then you could tell the spacing is a little bit off. This one turned out a little bit better, but it's not perfect either. And that's just it. It's the beauty of a handcrafted item. Nothing is perfect. But I will probably come back and find a couple of hearts and put, I can even dye, you know, I ended up using a lot in these cards because you see a lot of hearts. I ended up using these little, these little, and these are from Daiso, guys. So go to Daiso. I have still seen them up until recent, you know, as of the last time that I went. I have this one, and I don't see, I have a, where, there it is. There's a little pink one. $1.50, guys. Come on. Where do you get a punch that cheap? So I made use of these a lot. That's what made the gold hearts, quite frankly, go as far as they did. Was I started cutting out with the paper, the coordinating paper that I had. This one is, I tried to make it a little more male because this is something I want. One of the I made like a couple, but I'm thinking of a friend of ours who lost his wife to COVID, and he's grieving. He's having a tough time, and I wanted to do a card to send him. So this one was, I tried to tone it down to not make it so girly and make it more better for, you know, to send to a man. So I'm gonna set that aside because that card has a purpose. And then I love this one, again, scrap lifting. I got this from Pinterest, and because I liked it so much and I had all the stuff, there you go, I made two. Where you know me, it's like, okay, if I'm gonna make one, let me make 5. I didn't have 5, but because since we got 2 of everything, I used both. I made 2 of these. So and the only thing is I changed here. That's a thank you card, and here's a happy birthday card, and they're really cute. One of these I'll probably save for my BFF because she's a massive cook. So this screams my best friend Jane all over it. This one, again, another scrap lift. But I used up another one of my frames, most of the rest of the butterflies. I cannot believe that I had a butterfly left to the last card. I could not find, you know, I just didn't, you know, I was going to be putting it, interjecting it, and I'm like, where I didn't feel it fit. The last card absolutely is just scraps, and I'll show you, and I think I'm really pleased, even with that one, how that turned out. Then we have this one, and it's a take on the others. I used my last of my leftover houses. I use my word home. Home is wherever you are. And I use my love lives here and put it right on the roof line. And here again, I ended up using that paper, the plaid that I'm not a fan of, but I felt it worked really well here. So I'm like, there I go, hot dog, let's use this paper. What else we have here? Okay, here's the other duplicate of the blue one I told you, except I sent here's hello, sending hugs. And I realized I forgot to make that sparkly, but it works, not sparkly too. So, but it'll probably stay that way. Next, here's another one also from Pinterest. Like I wanted to use this Foxy's, I couldn't figure out. So where you can do 1, do 2, I just didn't have enough paper to duplicate it. So I ended up using different paper, but pretty much the same principle. And here you go, you see me, I used up most of the paper hearts that came with the kit, and then on this one I used just punched out the hearts from that my Daiso die cuts, and I just interjected paper that would coordinate with it. But these two, I thought they were so adorable. I love it. I love you, and then this one, you are truly the best. And they might be, I think it might be even grandkid cards. I don't know, we'll see. But I have them there to use. And then this one is a thank you card, another Pinterest inspired card. I really, really liked it. Used up, I'm pretty sure there was a different, frame used in Pinterest, but this is what I had left. I had forgotten, I had enough frames going late into this because I'd forgotten I even had them and pulled them on and then started using them. So I like that. So very simple, but really, in this paper, oh my gosh, it's probably my favorite sheet. I wish I'd had more because it was so pretty. It was like, oh, and I still have little scraps of it. This one's another one. I'm still, now that I look at it, I'm not a fan of it, but there it is. It's done. So again, another Pinterest inspired one. Again, it's a good one. It's probably a good sympathy card, and that's what it's meant to be. So it shouldn't be really overpowering, and that's what I should have thought. I didn't make my gold long enough, and I didn't want to cut this down, so it is what it is. And I'll put a sympathy here, probably something right down there when I go to use the card. This one is straight from Pinterest. I was trying to figure out a way to use this paper that I didn't like. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not even a fan of what I ended up, but it's definitely Pinterest inspired literally with this paper. So I'm like, okay, let's go. So it's a good match. I did it up differently than how the sample is. The only thing that's the same is these cut up pieces. Everything else I changed it up and did it differently. This was a card. I made the base early on, and it wasn't until the late 30s, that I ended up, when I really started to get low, that I finally used up these for it. And it might have been practically like in the 40s. It might have been like 40, 41, when I was down to trying to figure out how to use up what I had left, that I came back to this one, and I did that. Okay, next, what do we have next? Okay, this is me using up scrap paper to do this car, because this is out of order, because this is the one, let me do this. This is the one I did first. Straight out, Pinterest, inspired, just something I saw on there, and then I added this. And the main reason I added this is because I cut this wrong. I cut it wrong. I'm like, alrighty then, what do I do now? Because this is supposed to go edge to edge, and I'm a dork. And then I go, you know what? Remember what I say. There are no mistakes. There are just opportunities for creativity. And there I go. I got creative with my little foam guys. So I did this one, and I think this is one of Peanut Gallery's favorite. You know, the door and everything. I'm really pleased. I really like that. So then I had these guys still left over, which is why I have a trailer left over, because I used that one here with just scraps of paper. I put the black in here. Look at the okay, let me try again to look at the black top, and this is very more of a male-centric one, so that's why I used the colors and the muted tones the way I did, because this is more of a guy card. It could be anything, you know. It could be one maybe I'll give later on to the Peanut Gallery. It could be one I do for my grandsons. Who knows? We'll see. Next, one of the black card. This one again, if you like it, make two. And that's what I did. And again, here again, this is the original card. This is the original Pinterest inspired card. And I used a black card base, and then I'll just put a white insert so that I can, you know, stamp it and write in it. But I really loved it. But this is the one, had I thought about it, I probably would have done it slimline, so I could have fit the TV in there. Just because I had ended up having the TVs left over, and I probably then would have used the basket, the toy basket, because I could have put it at the other end of the couch. But that, you know what they say, hindsight. But otherwise, this one again, this piece went on very late, because it ended up being left over for quite a while. And then this one is, I went back in, I made this and left this blank waiting to see what I was going to have left over. And on this one, I popped, this one you can tell I didn't pop it out, and then I didn't put the dot here, what I ended up using to make, and this one got a little bit smashed. It's gotten a little bit smashed, but it looks so, the look I wanted it was to have a brad look without having to deal with putting a brad on it. And what did I use? The Nouveau drops that I got from my October tonic kit. This has come in so handy. It's been added to my little immediate tool tray here. I'm going to get more of these. I love how they go. I mean, they're perfect. So I am a huge fan. This one is malted milk, if you're at all interested. It's a bit of an off-white. Just perfect, but that's what I did. I did it, put it there. So I'll go in, and in fact, I'll show you. Let me do, because I need to do this one, and then I'll set it aside. But, I mean, it's brainless. All you go, because I'm going to cover that little hole, and it's just squeeze, 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 stop, and lift up. In that order. And it's pretty much self levels, but if I wanted to get it, so I just go from the bottom, tap it, flick it from the bottom, and it rounds out, and see, you've got a perfect little, you know, dot, pearl, whatever. And now I will set it aside and hopefully not smash it. But that's like I said, if you like it, do too. And that's what I did. I'm like, what else am I gonna do? I didn't want to think. My point was to just get these out, get these cards done. This one, next one. Okay, this is me again using extra pieces, just using up the chipboard and everything. So I went with, you know, Together, Home, Sweet Home, and then used up my family. I used up all of the gold words. I'm really surprised I did. And then I just punched out some of the hearts again, and just kept it really, really simple. I was channeling my inner Kathy Zilski here on this one, and it turned out really pretty. And then now I have, I mean, there's no, I could use this for anybody for any reason. So there you go. This one is Pinterest, this one and its friend. This is the original one. This is totally Pinterest inspired, except that I used a different pieces here, but I did use this, and the way it was stamped was straight from the sample I saw on Pinterest. And I wish I could tell you now who it is. I'll link you down below to who. I think it was Coffee Time and Craft, or Card and Coffee Time, I think is where I did these, but I could be wrong. But I just really liked, because I was down to strips of my favorite paper. And the next one, definitely I ended up with a bigger piece that I didn't realize, so I just used the whole thing up. And I didn't include any yellow because I was down to not having any left, and I called it good. If I had to do it again, and I could lift this up with undo and put a strip of yellow, but why? We're just going to let it slide like that. I just really liked it. I did not, you know, then I just used one of the circles, and it's a congratulations card, but just really, these are one of my favorites. This one is this one is probably my favorite, I think, just about. So I came back in. I did this one first, and then way later I came back, and once I started working with the scraps, came back and did this one. So there you go. What else I got? Again, using up scraps. Absolutely using. I couldn't even figure out till the end what to do with this birthday cake. So, and I used a scrap. This is what I had left, literally, of the wallpaper paper, as I call it. I used up a little bit of the lavender behind it. You know, just added little drips and drabs, you know, hey beautiful. And it could be a birthday card, it could be a high, you know, it could be anything. So I just used up again, and using up. That was my point, was at this point I was using up what I had. And I still made some cool cards. Same here. I used up again. Even this floor I was not a big huge fan of, but still it worked. So I used it to make another, potentially a sympathy card. So, you know, I put the memories here. I was having a hard time figuring out how to use that one. So I just got through it, you know, and this was just totally, this is me, you know, and of course you can tell which ones are my design. It's just, I'm not very imaginative. And at some point I will tell you this, guys, I think these are some of the ones I worked on last night. Don't make crafts when you're tired. Or I mean, this card might have taken me, I'm not kidding you, believe it or not, upwards of an hour to get done. Because I was blocked. Completely blocked. I just nothing was coming out, and it took me a while, and I finally muscled through it and got it. So don't card make tired, or when you're just not inspired. Recognize that you're not inspired, you're done, walk away. Because this morning I came back and I finished the rest of these cards now in the afternoon that I'm taping, but the last few, they just came flowing right out again. I was back in the oh my god, I had the flow. The mojo was back. This is another card from last night. Again, I used up. I ended up this tree. This one lasted to the very end. This chipboard. And then it's like, wait a minute, I could put it inside the picture frame. And there we go. Became a thank you card for family. So, you know, because family doesn't have to be just the people we are related to by birth. Family are the people that you love, that are that they're the family that you adopt, or whatever, however you want to call it. But family is not just blood relatives. Family can be anyone that you love enough that they're your family. And I have quite a few friends that are like that. So that can be used for one of them. Again, another I used up. This is me trying to figure out how to use this piece of paper. And I had these pennants left over, and it's now become a thank you card. Because for the longest time, I really did not pay attention to this piece, thinking, okay, it's a ball of string. What am I going to do with it? And then I realized, no, it's like a little ornament, and it has a little heart stitched on it. And yes, so it got used here. So it's very, very simple, very basic. And that F does not want to stay glued down. Golly gee. But we got it done, and there it is. It's just one more card. Again, it's the beauty of a handcrafted item. People love handmade cards. And then this was the same. It was the same inspiration, using up that big piece of yellow that I now could have used somewhere else, but I chose here and used up the True Stories. I had two of them. One of them, I think I may have already, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. I've spent the better part of 2 days looking for this one because it didn't get used. So maybe we'll backtrack it or we'll use it. I knew I hadn't used it, but I could not find it, and I just spotted it. Looking up suddenly. There you go. But so I ended up, these are the same, basically the same premise, just different pieces of paper. I did not cut it down. I just went, and here we go. True story, in my heart with all my love. It's it just is. So I got those used up, and I undercut out here, these two, and then I incorporated the gold hearts that I had from the kit. And no kidding, there's still more cards. No, wait, there's more. Again, this time trying to use up the last of my frames, and I just stepped straight onto the card and then framed it. What I did is, you can't tell, but I actually drew the circle so I could then center in my Misty the excuse me, the sentiment, and then I went back in and used the frame that had adhesive, by the way. Some of us who are dingleberries did not realize that they are self-adhesive, but the adhesive, I'll be honest, is not the best. What I do is I put a little wet glue, problem solved. But there it is. This is where I ended up using my last little bike, and my happy day went down to the bitter end, and then used up more of the die cut the gold hearts that I ended up die cutting. Next is, here's where I finally used up my doorway. It's out of order because this is way earlier in that stack. But this is Pinterest inspired, except I added this today. This was me right before shooting, trying to use up the last of these pieces. So I went back through and I go, oh wait, I can use it today. Here, today, celebrating you. So, and here is in Pinterest inspired one, it used up that brickwork paper that I used up long before I got here. So I went scrounging through my all my embossing folders, and this is not the one that I was looking for. I found that one today when I meant to make the last of the cards this morning, and it was there. I just missed it completely, but I used up. So I go, hey, I can make my own bricks. So this is I think it's a Doris embossing folder I've had for a million years or so, and there we go. I still got my it's very, it's dimensional. You still have the brick kind of a feel that I liked, and there you go. And then I went, when you're using up stuff, it finally hit me. I had these 3 frames that I was getting nowhere with figuring how to use it. And then it finally hit me. I could use all, you know what inspired me, how I figured it out? It was based on the paper. Where's the other one? Oh my gosh. It's the paper from the card, from oh my god, the phone card. There is, you can't see it, but right here you can see it. It's 3. It's 3 little frames. And that's when it hit me. I'm going to do a card with the 3 film strips. So that meant I was going to have to do a slim line. I thought I was going to get away with being able to do it on the mini. No. I had to do a full-on slim line, and I used up the three guys had, and this was an afterthought. Had I thought it out, I would have moved these down a little bit further so that these wouldn't look so crowded. But I don't care. There you go. I ended up finding 2 of these that I go, wait a minute, I thought I was out of them. Nope. I found those. And I just used some of the chipboards. This one's coming out, not chipboards, but some of the ephemera. I used my high was an afterthought as well. So I stuck it right there. I got it left over. And these are literally strips of the paper I just used and go, and there you go. And not perfect, but I'm going to tell you, I'm really happy with what I ended up being able to do, just using up the last of my pieces. And then one of I punched out a bunch of hearts out of a little scrap of the yellow that was going to be no good for anything else. This is this was the last piece of the yellow I did not care for. It was basically wallpaper, so the 70s is calling and wants this card back there, because it's this with what it to me is like flooring, but I use it to make a table, and I was just using up scraps left over because I had not used up this. I had not used up these guys, almost to the bitter end. Happy was still left over. I ended up stamping. I made a little flag with a little die I have. It is this one. I just tossed it down here. Here it is. So this is one of my finds from Frank Garcia. So I got this die, and it's 50% off, and he still has some left, okay? So you can probably find it online too. But I used one of the flags. I used a little flag to cut that right out so that I could put the sentiment right on it. I'm going to be honest with you, it is not my favorite card. It's probably the card I like the least. I think personally, between you, me, and the Cyberwall, it screams leftovers. But there you go. But at least I was able to use the leftovers. This, again, this is like almost the second to the last card I made. And it, again, using the leftover scraps, I didn't cut them, I didn't trim them, nothing. I just used up the little pieces right here and there. And there you go. It just is. I ended up using this. I surprised until the bitter end. I couldn't figure out how to use it. And then I put the little amazing in front of it. And you are truly the best. And I think it's really cute. I'm really pleased with how this turned out for, again, me just using up the last of the stuff I had. And last but not least is this guy. This one I had wanted to use all along and could not. I could not fathom how to make it work. And I wanted to, and I pulled, and I had Smile left over. So I ended up pulling this piece of yellow cardstock, which is part of the paper that came with the kit, and I pulled out then, and I had to go back in search of, and I pulled out an old, I mean, you can tell how old Anna Griffin this is because it's Cuttlebug, Cricket Cuttlebug. So it's the Poppy. So you could probably, and it's a two-piecer. So I wanted to bring this out so I could show you guys. So it does both a band, and then it does, and I've had these embossing folders for years, guys. Now, this might very well be the first or second time I've used it in the time I've owned it. But it ended up being really, it was perfect for this card kit. And I thought there was another one where I ended up embossing. There's a couple of cards missing here. Isn't there? Because now that I think about it, I know I embossed something else. I embossed another. Oh, it's right here. That's why. Hello. That was the last card, but this I had it here because I was drying. So I'll come back to it. So I embossed it, but I ended up using on this one the deboss, and I ran it by the peanut gallery, and I said, okay, which side do you like? And he flipped it over, and we ended up agreeing the debossed side was really interested. So on this one, I used the deboss side, and then I finally got to use this little sentiment and these little teeny tiny little purpley hearts because I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted the embossing to speak. These are the little hearts that are cut off from, let me see, where's the duplicate? Here. They're the little hearts that come out of here. And I ended up losing probably most of them, but I had 4, ended up 1 turned up right, and it's in the ephemera pack. But I put those in there just as a little boop, like Kathy Zilski likes to say, and I may even sparkle them up just to add that little more pop. But it was perfect. It's very simple and just perfect. So I'm really pleased. This is the other one I did. Again, I cannot believe that a lot of butterfly made it all the way to the bitter end. And again, totally now scrambling to use the leftovers, and this worked out, I think, fantastically well. Though now if I had to do it over, and I can because this is just taped down, I may move that little flag over a little bit, even if it's touching the loved, I don't care. But here you go, so you can see the difference. On this one, I used the embossed. So if you can compare, you can see the difference, what embossed looks like and what debossed looked like. And this was straight from the embossing folder. I did not even wet my paper. I just used my and I didn't want to deal with pulling, moving things around so I could pull up my Empress. So I just used my my Big Shot and die cut and embossed it, and it worked out great. So there it is. Box is empty. 44 cards. That's what I ended up being able to make with this kit, guys. And you saw that I still had some stuff left over. So I probably could have gone, I may have closed in. I don't think I would have made 50. But I could probably, but it was just a mismatch of what was left. So I'm like, yeah, no, we're just going to leave well enough alone and quit while I'm ahead. But just so you know, guys, there is, that I think is impressive for a card kit to pull out, being able to pull out that many cards out of a card kit. So I'll put that, I'll find its friend and put that away. But anyway, I just wanted to share with you what you can do with a Spellbinders card kit if you ever thought about getting it. I can't say don't do it, man. You just have to. This is the first time that I've actually worked all the way through a kit. So now I've got to inspire myself to do the rest of the kits that I have there hanging out. But this, we'll see. Maybe I'll challenge myself and use now the October card kit because the November is still on the slow boat to China. So thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out with me and watching this. If you enjoyed this, got an inspiration, and you know what, if Myra did it, I need to use up some of my kits. Go for it. Give me a like, throw me a comment, let me know. And if you want to see more of this madness, by all means, go ahead and subscribe and ding the bell, and you'll know when I'm back with more of my madness. Otherwise, guys, just go out there and craft, be bright, be happy, be you. And don't forget, we're all a little mad here. So let's scrap the madness, okay? I'm going to talk to you guys later. Bye.